Right. So I'm just showing you the counter program that we made earlier. And over here, I'm going to show you how, I mean, this program we've already designed before, and this is how it works. So I refresh the page, and when I click on this button, it increments the counter by 1. Now, what I really like to do is that instead of clicking on the button, I'd like the counter to automatically increment. So for that, we have a function called setInterval, in which I need to specify the function which is going to run at a certain interval. So in that case, the function is count. And the interval I want to set is in milliseconds, 1,000 of a millisecond, which is actually a second, 1 second, right? I'm saving this and going back to the browser. Refresh. Oh yeah, it's working now. So it was case sensitive, and I probably missed out when I was doing this myself. I just missed out the IS capital in this. So this is how it's working.
All right.
And this is in millisecond
range before the DOM content loaded.
Yeah, because this is something that has nothing to do with the clicking or anything, right? So you can just, as you're initializing your variables, you can just write the setInterval command over here.
So basically, you can have it anywhere on the JavaScript. It won't matter.
Anywhere before the functions would be a good idea. Before the declaration of the functions, you can have it anywhere at the top. Right? And reducing this obviously is going to make the counter run faster.
So this could also be used as a timer.
Yes, of course. So if you've got something like, yeah, this is what I was thinking. Like if you've got an exam online, right? Many examinations systems, they use a timer to let you know how much time you're spending. They could either use it as a stopwatch, so you time yourself, or they could run it as a timer to give you enough time to do the question. And if you don't do it in that time, then it's just going to move to the next question. So this is another way it can be used, yes. For example, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 50 seconds, you could do it in reverse, and this thing would, you know. Oh yeah, and that brings me to something. How about making a timer for about 20 seconds or 10 seconds, and after the 10 seconds, it reaches 0, it gives an alert that the timer, you know, your time is up. How would we do that?
Okay, we'll have to set a condition.
Very good. We'll have to set a condition, yes. We'll have to set a condition, and we'll have to let the counter be, for example, if we're going to do it in reverse, so let's set the counter to 10 if it's going to be 10 seconds.
Okay.
Oops, sorry. Setting counter to 10. Okay. Setting the interval.
The count function, we'll put it as counter minus minus.
Find its case sensitive. Right, and what do I have to do here now?
Counter minus minus.
Counter minus minus, right. Should I do this before displaying or after?
What do you mean?
So if I run it like this, see what happens. I'm going to refresh the page. So the first number that came on the screen was a 9.
Yeah, because it took 1 second to load, I guess.
And it took a second to load. So it would be a good idea if we go back to our HTML and change this to a 10. Right?
Oh, all right. And now it came as 10.
Okay, and now we need to do something. We need to stop this as it reaches 0. And we need to alert.
Yeah.
So we're going to use the condition. That's right. Any ideas what I'm going to write in the condition?
Can we use if else statements over here?
Of
in
course,
Python?
yes, that's right.
Okay, so if counter is equal to 0, then you
So
alert
if,
something. Now,
so
what's the
this
proper format? I don't know.
right. So if counter equals to 0, right? So I could write another function here, or I could just do the alert. And in the alert, I could say your time is. Right?
Okay.
Okay, let's see how this goes. Right. Works exactly how we planned it to work.
Okay.
But of course, the interval function is still running, so we need to figure out how to stop that. And
Assign a name.
yeah, like a variable. So I'm gonna call it my timer equals to setInterval, and then
Want to
my
write
timer.
var equals to something? Var equals to my time now.
Const. No, I can't do const here because it's gonna change, right? No, I'm not changing it, so I could do const here. Const my timer. Yeah.
I'll just be back in a minute.
Yeah, sure. Yes, sorry, I'm at work. The timer's now stopped. So all we did was we just added the const here. Basically, we needed to identify the timer of the interval. So one of the ways to do it is just define a variable, which will be. So this timer is basically an object. So basically what I did was I just used the constant keyword to define, it looks like a variable. It can be, you can call it a variable, you can call it a function. So basically an object which contains the set interval and kind of identifies it. So, and similarly, I had to, when I was doing, when we used the clear interval, we could use that to stop that particular timer. So that's exactly what we did.
Did it work?
Yeah, it works fine. Here, let's refresh. Oh yeah, and the other thing is this 10 is not nice to see. So how do we get rid of that? The 10. Because
just change it to 5 in
yeah,
the
because
HTML file.
yeah, so if we're looking at this 10 here, it's just not giving a good look. So maybe we can display this before the code actually starts to run. So let counter equals 5. So if we could just show this value in that particular on that particular button as it loads. So I think I can just do query selector. And inner HTML equals to counter dot value. Oh wait, counter. Right.
So how did you make it short though?
Hold on a second. Sorry, what is it? It's called counter. Yeah, it is called counter. Okay, wait. Sorry, that's not done right yet. So it's not H1, it's actually counter. Oh, that didn't work. Counter value. Right, you were saying something, go ahead.
So I was asking, how did you make it stop? Like, what you had to do? What wasn't working?
Oh yeah, basically, so what I did was this was the code we wrote, setInterval, but basically to stop the interval, to clear the interval, you need to have the name or object assigned to that interval. So using const keyword, I defined a variable or object, you can call it for now. I basically declared a variable, my timer, but this variable became an object later on because I was storing or referring it to the set interval that I'm running. So whenever I needed to change or assign something to this interval, I could do it using the my timer object, which I've just declared here. So down here, when I wrote clear interval my timer, I'm basically telling the clear interval function that this is the object which I want to stop, this particular timer, which is running here.
Okay.
Yeah, so before that, we didn't have any of this. So I did not have it, but it needs it. Right, so, okay, so document.query selector counter dot inner HTML equals to counter. And this is counter is my ID, okay, here. So this is probably not working, I think. Let's try it again. Yeah, so document query selector counter dot inner HTML equals counter. Okay, it's not applying this to.
So what do you want to do actually?
Right, so instead of me having to go and fix the numbers depending on what counter value I'm setting here, I just wanted the H1 counter element to just display the value of counter. This is what my plan was.
So what if we just don't display anything over there? Like you could go over there and just write starting timer or something.
All right, so no. Okay, so I fixed it now. So basically this was the concern that no matter, you see, so if I'm running the counter for say 7 seconds, I don't want to go back into my HTML content and keep updating it. I could just initialize my variable with 7, and then using the, after DOM content is loaded, the first thing I'd like to do is just get hold of the counter element, which is an H1 tag, and change its inner HTML to the value of counter, which I have declared here in the variable. So this should work now. So when I start, it's on 7, 6, 5, 4. Yep, works. And now the counter is stopped. So that was the set interval function. Okay, the other thing which we had to discuss today's class were mostly to do with arrays, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have an idea of what an array is. Do you know what an array is?
Not really.
Okay, but you know what a variable is, right?
Yeah.
Right. So with arrays, the only difference is that it's a data structure just like a variable, but this time you have multiple values you can store in it.
Okay.
So in other words, it's a data structure that can represent data using something known as an index value. So just like I've declared, okay, so basically, okay, let me show it to you. So you know, like, let me say I have a variable called colors, okay? But the thing is that I want to store different colors in this particular variable. But at one time, if I have a regular variable, I can just store something like this in it, right? Say just one value. But what if I want to store more than one value? But I still want to call it as colors. So that's when an array comes into play, that it's going to be a data structure that can represent more than one value. And this is how it is now. I'd like this out. I can use let. I can use the word var to declare it as well. By the way, there are a few differences between var and let. I'll just tell you what they are in a bit. So if I'm to store multiple values, so I'm going to say let colors, and then I'm going to put this square bracket here, and then I'm going to put blue, separate by comma, and then close the square bracket. Okay, next thing is that if I want to display, I want to display what my values are. So another thing I can do is console.log. And what console.log does is that it basically writes in the console of the web browser.
Okay. What does that mean?
Okay, what that means is that, okay, so I've written console.log, and it's a function that's going to write in the console of the browser, and I'm displaying the length of the colors array, okay? So colors is the name of the array, and dot length is like a dot operator that can access some functions of the colors array.
That can do what?
Basically, it's going to tell us the length. How many elements are there in this particular array?
Okay, so that's 2.
That's 2, right? So let's see if this thing can prove it to us. Okay, so inspect element console. Right. Can you see that little 2 there? Right. So when we write console log, it basically console.log, it basically brings us over here. So sometimes when you want to run one-line statements quickly and just see what the result is like, you can do it here. So the name of our array is colors, right? So if I want to see what's stored in colors 0, it shows me the color red. Now, how did I access the array's element? So I did it by using the square brackets, and inside the square brackets, I used the index number. So by default in JavaScript or any other programming language, the first element is stored in the 0 index number. Just like, you know, binary, we have zeros and ones and so on. So this is how it is. And similarly, if I write colors 1 semicolon, oops, did I write 2 over there? It's 1. So that's blue. So the total length of my colors array right now is
2.
It's 2. Okay, so what if I want to add more items? What if I want to add another color? I want to add a green over there.
You could just go in the JavaScript and add one more color over there.
I could just add one more color. Very good, exactly. So I've got 0 already. I've got the 0th element. I've got element 1, and now I want to add another element 2. So I would just write colors element 2 equals 2, and we're looking for the color green over here, right? Okay, so first of all, let's just check if the length of our array has changed. Indeed, it has. It's changed from 2 to 3 now. That means we got 3 elements in there. Okay. All right, going back to the page, and okay, so we got like let me just add another one here, or I could just add it like this. One's here, colors dot equals 2 green. Okay. All right, now if I want to see all of these elements all together, so I could do that using a loop. Okay, so for integer z equals to 0 to the length of the array, so I can just write colors dot length, and I want it to increment by 1, so z plus plus, and I just want to display the value in the console log of my colors. Okay, so here I just want to show color z, because I'm going to be referring to the z element, like that.
I don't understand it.
Sorry?
I didn't get it.
Right, so basically, instead of me trying to do console log colors 0 to show red, then console log color 1 to show blue, and so on, I'm going to enclose this in a loop, right? So this is a for loop. This is part of iteration where you have a definite loop. Like this loop will run for a definite number of times, and that definition is defined here. So I've just got a variable z, which I'm declaring here temporarily. This variable is going to start at 0, and it's going to run till the length of the array, which we can get by just writing colors.length, right? So that's going to return the length of the array. And then semicolon, I'm reminding the loop that I just want to increment 1 at a time. So z will be 0 first, and then display in console log colors z. Z is 0, so it's going to type the value of the 0 element of colors array. So once this line gets executed, again we go back to the loop, and this time the z has incremented to 1, and now this console log is going to display colors 1. And similarly, until this condition is true, where the color has reached the length, z will this loop will keep running.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just have a look at this program now. Refresh. Okay, we got an error here. Oh, there's some error. Okay, I missed something here. What did I miss? Okay, so we have C++. Okay, so maybe I'm running it in the old-fashioned way, and this is not how it's supposed to. Right, okay, so sorry, that was I got mixed up with some other code. So you don't use integer here anymore, you just write the let or the var. So here I haven't even said let or const or anything. I've just said for z equals 0, the length of the colors, and z plus plus. So anyway, so we're able to see in the console log that we got all the values printed. Now, if I add another color here, say we go here and we add, okay, so initially I'm going to add one more color here. So let's add the
So
fourth.
what was wrong? Why wasn't it running?
Oh, because I used the the keyword int, and JavaScript probably doesn't use this outdated word anymore, because previously in programming we used to write integer, we used to write string to declare the data type of the variable. But now these programming languages are so clever. I mean, they're so advanced, they don't even want you to tell them anything like that. Which brings me to another question now. I have declared this entire array of, okay, this will become 3 now, right? 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So as I've declared all these variables, I mean, this array of different data, I have not said if this is going to be string or text, like they said, or I have not said its number, and yet this is able to figure out what the values are. By the way, let's just run this quickly. It should display 4 colors this time. Okay, so something's wrong. Where is the file? It's called basic job. Right. So as I add more elements, my for loop actually, goes up to the last element and then it displays the values. Okay. Any questions?
So you wrote green over there, like on your own. You didn't add it the other way.
Yeah, I just added it directly in the line. I mean, okay, so I was also going to tell you this, that what if I add a totally different type of value in this array of ours? So what if I add, like, for example, the number 2? How will JavaScript work with this? Because initially, when it finds out that I'm using double quotation marks, it most likely assigns text to all the array data types. But here, all of a sudden, I'm assigning it a numeric value.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens now. Is it going to add this? Is it going to display or not? Let's see. And for some reason, my browser is saying that a web page is slowing down the browser. Okay. So interestingly, it's picked up the numeric value 2 as well, and it's added it into the list. But one thing interesting is, what is the length of our array now? Because I mean, we've got 4 values, red, blue, black, and green. And I've just said colors 5 equals 2. So I did skip an index, right? Because this was 0, this was 1, this was 2, this was 3. The 4th number is gone missing. So if you look into the code, it says there is an undefined value inside. Did you read that in the code?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So what happens is, if you go, say if I wrote 10 here, right? Color 10 equal 2. So whatever is in the middle, like this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's going to actually include them in the list of array, but there will be no values in there. It's just going to be like an undefined array.
Okay. What is the use of these arrays?
What's the use
Like
of an
for
array?
this, for example, this, yeah, like for example, you use this for loop, but what is it actually going to do?
Oh yeah, like I said, if I wanted to, I could have, look, if I want to access any of my array values, I can do it by writing, for example, if I want to show this, so I could do console.log colors and then show me the 0 element of this particular array in the console log. I'd have to do the same thing to make the different colors appear, right? Manually. This loop saves me a lot of effort. Say if I have like 100 elements or 50 elements or 70 elements or 1,000 elements, I won't have to type so much to get them. Rather, I could just use a loop that starts from a certain number. I could specify what that number is. And I could tell it to go up to the length which I want it to go. Here, in this case, I said, look, go to the last element which is existing in the array. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
okay, think of it in this way. Okay, so say we're making a quiz, right? It's a quiz game. So I want people to guess the colors, okay? And I've got different colors set in my array. And I've got a loop here that basically waits for the user to select an option from which is appearing on the screen. And as they go through the questions, so these could be the questions or the options to the questions that the user can answer, like red, blue, black, or green, or any other thing. So an array can be very helpful in organizing that kind of data inside, which is known as a regular variable. You can just have so much more in there. So something like I could do like questions equals 2, and then I could say questions, for example, what is 10 plus 2, right? This could be my first question. Question 2, what is the color of sky, right? And then question 3. So once I have so many questions, what is the current year? Yeah, so in order to get these questions, I could just run a loop, and one by one each time I could get a question, right? So I don't have to do console log. I could just maybe do this. I could just use the DOM model with query selector, and I could probably go pick the question element, which is on my page, and change its inner HTML to the array, which is questions, and the number of the question would be something like this. Okay, here's something interesting if you want to check with. We can try this right now, actually. So this could be a good project for you to learn, actually, if you try it out later. So let's try this.
So can we just continue this tomorrow? It's been over an hour.
Right. So one last thing. I just wanted to show you a bit of how this thing actually can work. So let's do counter. Okay. So counter is running. Let's do counter here, and we have to do this by doing addition again, and the starting. So counter basically is like the question counter, and it's basically going to display the 3 questions, and this is what I've written here. Okay, so it's no longer going to be question, it's going to be counter. So I'm just replacing the counter with the questions using from the array that I just set. Okay, so questions, yes. So I'll remove this loop from here for now. Okay, let's see what happens. Feature all. What is the color of the sky? What is the current here? And undefined. Okay, so you saw I had like, I don't know, I think I had like 2-3 questions. So okay, maybe we should start from -1 because, oh yeah. So here, what's happening is it's not showing me the first question, rather it does counter plus plus. So I'm gonna have to put the counter plus plus part after I have displayed my question. So probably put it over here. Now refresh. So what is 10 plus 2? What is the color of sky? What is the current here? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
So
of.
this
But
is, yeah.
after questions, why do you have the counter in squared brackets?
I'm sorry. What's that? Say that
After
again.
questions, why do you have down there in the function?
Yes.
Why do you have counter after questions in
Oh,
the
yeah.
document.query selector?
Good question. That's a good question. So why do I have this counter plus plus here and not up there? It's
No, I'm
because,
not asking that. That I
oh,
understand.
okay.
I'm asking, like, in the document.query selector counter in HTML questions, then why do you have counter in the squared bracket over there?
Oh yeah. So this is basically the index, right? So this I could have 0, I could have it 1, I could have it 2, but I don't want to put this in manually, right? I could, because my counter is already running in the background, starting from 0, right? This is a variable, right? Okay, let's make it simpler. Let's call it question number. Maybe that will make it easier for you to understand. So let question number equal to 0, right? And here I'm going to write question number. And instead of counter plus plus, I'm going to write question number plus plus. Question number dot length instead of your time is up, questions or quiz complete. All right, does this make sense now? The name of the array, which is questions, and then I have a variable called question number, which is starting from 0 and keeps on going. So basically, I'm just replacing the element inside this bracket here.
Okay.
Okay, so I just made some more changes. Let's see if this stops after the third question. No, it did not
That's fine.
stop.
What came first? There was something else.
Question underscore number. Question underscore number equals 0. And the first time this
No.
runs is question underscore number. Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, that thing I'm thinking myself, what is that first thing that comes on the page? When you start the quiz, object HTML element. Why is it showing that? Let question underscore number equals 0. Let question, sorry, counter. Questions, question number, okay. Counter.
मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ ना सुबह कर लो टेक्स्ट बुक ज़्यादा ज़रूरी नहीं है
my counter. Okay. Document selector. Oh, okay. So there are two things now. We've got the set interval function running here, which is calling the count function. And I'm trying to figure out what is this function doing here, the counter function. Is there a counter function here? What's this for here? Document.query selector counter. No, this is just resetting the counter. Okay. Oh, so it's no longer counter. Oh, no, it's no longer. But this is going to be question number. Yeah, so this line was only, this initializes INITIAL, the question number on screen. That's all. Hopefully that error will not come on screen. Okay.
All right. Could you just send me this file so that I could go through it?
So why don't I just upload it